Welcome, my friends, to the AI Drug Discovery Panel. My name is Kat Walsh. I'm the creator and host of a psychedelic podcast called Trip on This. I'm an entrepreneur, a seeker, and someone who's just keenly interested in seeing how AI can enhance human life. I think a lot of us have probably used, ChatGPT for productivity, maybe any creatives. We've used Midjourney or Dolly, but that's not all. And today we're going to be talking about how we can potentially live longer and happier because of AI. I have three wonderful panelists next to me. I'm going to briefly introduce them and then have them also talk about themselves in more detail about what excites them about this space. So I'm next to Barney Neal. He's the Chief Technology Officer for Longer. I have Chad Olin here. He's the CEO and co-founder of Supermind. And I'm with Alex Kadet. He is the Chief Business Officer at Gero. Gentlemen, are we ready?
Absolutely.
We ready for
Let's
this?
do it.
All right. So let's take a couple minutes and talk about a little bit more about what are you doing in this space and also your why. What excites you about this?
Absolutely. So hello, everyone. Barney Neal, CTO of Longer. Longer is an ecosystem platform company trying to increase the accessibility to longevity. Over the last 9 months, my particular focus has been developing the Longevity AI, which is a large language model focused on the ability to be a free longevity coach for everyone. So emphasis on the free, because what excites me most about these technologies is the accessibility. And so we want to make sure that the tools that AI allow us to build are in everyone's hands. So this is a tool that you have on your phone. You can ask it questions about diet routines, supplements, even recipes. An upcoming feature is the ability to take a picture of your meal and it to give you the macronutrients and calorific dietary data for that meal. You can save it to your calendar and you can track your progress towards a longer and happier life. So that's what we're doing here at Longer, amongst many other things. So,
Awesome. Thank you. Chad?
Yeah, so I'll start with my why. About 7 years ago, I was experiencing really severe stress and anxiety, sleep issues, and burnout as an entrepreneur of another business. And it was at that time that I met my now co-founder at Supermind, who is developing a brainwave technology using biofeedback integrated with mindfulness and CBT techniques to teach me at the time how to change my own brain through the power of neuroplasticity. And I had a really life-changing experience with it. Within 10 days of back-to-back sessions, I largely resolved the stress and anxiety, and I felt amazing. And I had so much more energy to approach my life, to enjoy my life, to be more productive. And I could see that on the brainwave graph, a 90% reduction in fight or flight biomarkers, which is this kind of hypervigilance that some of us experience in those hyper-stress states. And so we're now building a platform to democratize access to this brainwave technology as a precision mental health therapeutic targeting depression, anxiety, and PTSD.
Fantastic. Alex?
So I'm a Chief Business Officer at Gero, and Gero is a physics-enabled biotechnology company that uses machine learning to understand what aging is, which we successfully did, and to develop drugs that will stop human aging and will produce a multifold increase in human health and lifespan within the current generation.
Fantastic. All right, so let's set the stage for everyone. I don't know if anybody knows a whole lot about AI drug development, but as somebody who's pretty new to this space, I'm coming at it from a place of curiosity. And so why don't we talk about some high-level aspects about how AI is actually revolutionizing drug development, technology with mental health. Why don't we start with you, Barney?
yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing to understand is that the medical knowledge that we are gaining as a society, as humanity, is exponentially increasing. In 1950, the rate of which that knowledge would double was 50 years. In 1980, it was about 7.5 years. In 2010, it would double at a rate of 3.5 years. Today, it's doubling every 70 days. And so that's a vast quantity of data, and we simply, as humans, cannot comprehend that level of data, and we certainly cannot take value from that data. And so we cannot ignore deep learning, we cannot ignore AI algorithms to allow the value to be extracted from the data that we are collecting around the world. So that would be my first thought.
Wow. I mean, just the speed of which we can discover potentials is, I think, the thing that we need the most, right? People are sick, people need help, and the fact that something can speed up this process to this degree to help us with things that we have yet to be able to tackle, fascinating. What about you, Chad?
Absolutely, and for us, it's all about data as well. And so the title of the panel is AI and drug development, drug discovery. We're building a digital therapeutic. So it's a term some may not be familiar with, but this is essentially being prescribed a prescription software, a prescription app, or in our case, a device with an app in lieu of a Xanax or a depression medication. And so we're building a digital drug in that sense. And it's all about data, as we've heard. And so for us, it's finding ways to use AI to correlate data sets between subjectively reported mental health psychological states, a depression questionnaire, for example, correlating that data with objectively measured EEG brainwave data, and what type of brainwave signatures that we can find and use to better personalize treatment plans with that data. So data and personalization are two big themes I think we'll all be talking about today in respect to how AI can help. Speed is another one. And then lastly, we're also looking at network effects, which essentially is the more data that we have, the more valuable it becomes. And so for us, as we build this data set mapping of the mind, that will become more valuable for practitioners to use to better personalize their therapeutic interventions as well as ours.
Yeah, so what fascinates me personally in that field the most is that biological systems are the most complex systems we can observe in the universe, and they generate huge amounts of data, as you heard. And it would be silly to think that we can understand it with our eyes and brain. It's incredible how much progress we already did using our conventional tools, which are over here. But what could be done now with machine learning is simply outperforms any dreams that our, I don't know, like couple generations ago, biologists might have. And also for Gero specifically, Gero was created to study human aging in human data, which was impossible before arrival of machine learning. So we wanted to remove bias. If like 50 years ago you would ask any biologist of aging, he would has his own favorite theory of aging, and each of them will have a separate one. And this is a problem when you study such a complex system. So we think that by removing that bias, we can explore what actually human aging is and how to stop it.
I think when you talk about data bias too, we're also talking about some of the ethical concerns, right, around AI. I think a lot of people want to know, but like, what's the downside? And I think biases, right, are one of those things that scientists are always looking at. What are some of those ethical concerns that you guys are seeing, and how are the scientists actually addressing those things? Barney?
Sure. Coming from a longevity perspective, and the age of biohacking is one that particularly scares me, and the ethics behind that. We all know that CRISPR was a fantastic technology, being able to use, DNA, tiny scissors to adapt and modify the DNA sequence. You can now get essentially DNA printers where you can print and you can synthetically create DNA strands, and the costs of these technologies are always plummeting, and so the proliferation increases. You now have someone that can be in their garage with just basic lab skills that have the ability to make fundamental changes, which offers a risk. We're all coming out of the end of COVID-19. We've seen that biological weapons can be a real risk factor. And with these technologies, which are fantastic and going to make a huge amount of positive change, there is a risk that there are possibilities of bad actors that can have a very small but massive introduction to, the world, with a negative introduction of maybe a biological weapon, for example. And so that's my biggest fear in terms of the ethics and AI as these technologies expand across the world. There is a fear that it becomes far too easy and in the hands of the wrong people can cause a lot of destruction.
How do we address that? I just want to stay with that because it's a really interesting point, I think a really valid one. What are people suggesting to address potential hackers and bad apples that are trying to make weapons, biological weapons?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Across the AI space, a lot of people are talking about confinement and containment. So we know that AI is going to make a massive difference to the world that we live in, and we know it's coming very quickly. It's for the jobs of politicians and international like legislation, for example, to actually release these technologies in a more pragmatic fashion, where we can prepare for the economic changes that might happen across society and really take a level of intelligence to make sure that when these technologies do come to market, it's done in a safe, pragmatic fashion. But that requires high-level politicians talking across the world, which in the world we lived in today is very difficult. So it's quite a challenge.
Yeah, that's real world things right there, asking people to slow down. We know that's not easy. Chad, I would love for you to talk about also biases in the data. We were talking about something very interesting about adding consciousness back into the data. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I did want to raise one other point and then go into that. The first one just being that I think it's absolutely essential that we have the right privacy protection in place for all of this data. And so I think that's table stakes. But as Kat was referring to, I also believe that there's an imperative for the scientists and the engineers and the developers to become more aware of their own mental health and to do the inner work such that their creations are a reflection of their highest intention for the good of humanity. And so I like the word consciousness as a way of infusing into the discussion and into the development ecosystem a sense of intentionality, a sense of mindfulness, and a sense of awareness for anyone that's creating AI to take the time to work on yourself and work on your own healing. And I do think that can be framed as an ethical responsibility for anyone in the field.
I love that. I mean, being on a psychedelic side of things, like personal development and understanding why we do what we do, understanding that ChatGPT is the product of programmers and people putting in and pulling information, but it's all very exciting. I'd like to now
one other last point on that. If we think of what AI is capable of, it may be a reflection of us. And so if we're able to work on ourselves, then I think we'll have more confidence that AI will develop to serve us as we would want it to.
I completely second that. I think artificial intelligence and synthetic biology are always hand in hand. So much so if you take artificial intelligence and synthetic biology and you say synthetic intelligence and artificial biology, the meanings of the words are exactly the same. And that's just a reflection of humanity and language that we've created and so on and so forth.
Let's talk a little bit about longevity. Now, you all touch longevity, right? Longevity sciences with AI. How is AI helping us live happier, healthier, longer lives? Alex, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so as I said before arrival of machine learning technologies, we were not able to grasp the essence of human aging. Now, fortunately, humans is the most studied species in the whole world. We have more data generated for humans than even for laboratory mice. And we actually now begin testing the drugs that were just mechanisms of which were discovered using machine learning. Hopefully, in that sense, arrival of machine learning will present us with an opportunity to live 3-4 times longer than our ancestors.
All right, so we're at Wonderland. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I think what I said at the start, which is the why, I think it's the accessibility. Technology is so fantastic because of the way in which it can reach so many people so quickly. and that offers risks, as we discussed, but also it's a great tool. And I think the ability for AI to be in the pocket of everyone is fantastic, and it will allow them to make better choices in their diet, their exercise, their supplement routines, and that's what we've been trying to build with the longevity AI. It's this companion in your pocket where you can talk. It's almost like a journal where you're saying things. What exercise should I do at the gym today? And it knows it's learning from you. It's personable and personalized, so it gives you the best kind of advice for you to live a healthier and happier life.
Chad, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I mentioned how we're using AI and machine learning to personalize mental health therapy. And we think about longevity. There's a very strong correlation between mental health and physical health with respect to how long we live. So if we can make a significant impact on depression, anxiety, trauma, that will directly lead to people living longer lives. And then also, and lastly, quality of life. Right? Longevity may conjure this sense of like, how long can we live? How much biohacking can we do? But if we just take a step back and think about quality of life, happiness is a big part of that. So I'm glad that we raised that earlier. And I feel that happiness is very tied to our mental health and our psychological state. So we're using AI in that respect as well to help people live happier lives with a higher quality of life.
So we're at Wonderland right now. This is kind of a psychedelic conference. So I'd like to also tie now, how can AI actually help us with psychedelic science? Barney?
I'm probably going to step on your toes here, but I would say it's about the qualitative data. We're doing therapies with people. There's a lot of talking therapy, as we've discussed across the whole conference. A lot of these sessions are being recorded now, both for ethics and to make sure that it's secured and you can learn from it. With AI, you have the ability to then transcribe those kind of conversations. You can do sentiment analysis. You can pull out a lot more data from the conversations that the therapist might be having with the patient. And so I think that's a really interesting way in which it would work within the psychedelic sector. And I'm sure there's many companies. I think the headline sponsor is PsychMD, which are doing just that with large language models and AI. But I'm sure you have much more to say.
Yeah, thank you. Just bringing back consciousness. Psychedelics are a way that we can explore consciousness, expand our consciousness, and with AI, we're able to analyze data collected via EEG to understand what's actually happening in the brain and in the mind through a psychedelic experience, and then use that information to create better therapeutic models. So I definitely see a strong potential for AI with the psychedelic field.
Alex, you had a really cool stat that I just want you to share with us also about AI and what you guys discovered.
So in our space, we've not been looking for any psychedelic compounds because the effects that we are looking for should have a strong effect on human aging. But as I said, we do it in an unsupervised way. So we start from human data, and then we test the predictions in animal models that the model made for us. So we were testing several compounds, and so just one fun fact for the audience of the Wonderland conference. We identified a compound, and Gero became a holder of the world record of life extension in C. elegans, in roundworms. We are using only one chemical compound. It's 100% increase in lifespan, so twice of the lifespan of the worms, with a molecule that is 3 atoms different from the molecule of LSD. We didn't look for that, it just appeared from there.
And just to emphasize that point, it was 3 molecules different from LSD.
3 atoms different from
Three
the molecule
atoms, yes.
of LSD.
Wow, that sounds very close.
So we have time for final thoughts right now before we open it up to questions. And as you're thinking about your final thoughts, what would you like people to leave here today when they think of AI drug development? That's a big, sprawling topic. It feels very complicated. How would you guys distill it down for everyone here in the room so they can walk away, tell their friends what they learned about AI drug development today?
I have an interesting fact which I think would be helpful. A team of data scientists turned up at a competition where they were trying to predict the folding of proteins. It was a an event that they held every year, and a team of data scientists turned up. Not a single biologist was part of the team, and they went ahead and they were trying to identify the folding of proteins, which has been a 50-year-long mystery in the world of biology. And they got 23 out of 43, so they got half marks, and second place got 3 out of 43. And that team was a team from DeepMind, which is now a Google company. And over the last 10 years, this was back in 2013, over the last 10 years, they've been doing a lot more of their work and have been creating a database of 200 million proteins and the way in which they fold. As we all know, proteins are fundamental to biology, and our dry weight as a human is around 75% of proteins, and that's only been released in 2022, so we've had 1 year. So the influence of AI tangibly now in the healthcare drug development space is only just beginning. And what we're going to see over the next few years, as we all know, drug discovery, drug development takes multiple years, up to 5 to 7. It's only from now, 2022, that these tools are really going to see a massive impact. So that would be what I'm looking to take away, is that it's just about to start, and we're going to see a massive increase in proliferation of exciting new molecules to treat many disorders, many diseases, and help us all live better for longer. So
It's only just beginning. Chad?
That's exciting. As long as we infuse consciousness into the ecosystem and make sure it's going the right way, it's very exciting. So 2 quick takeaways for me. One would be that it's when we think of drug development, there's this other field referred to as digital therapeutics. These are digital drugs, software as medicine. And so AI can be used to accelerate the development of a digital therapeutic. AI is also being used to create algorithms to benefit our individual mental health. So I think that's an exciting way to use it for the benefit of humanity. And then lastly, I wanted to offer anyone in the audience today that would like to do a free brainwave assessment. We have a clinic here in Wynwood. Typically, we charge $349 for this. It's a really unique insight into how your brain, how your mind is working. And so if you'd like to take us up on that offer, you can go to our website, supermind.us, and just type in your name and say that you met us at Wonderland, and we'll do the free assessment for you.
Cool. I want to do that. Yeah.
Come by.
All right, cool. Alex?
Yeah, so again, because biology is incredibly complex, any of my colleagues who are PhDs in biology say that the only thing that you learn through the PhD in biology is that we do not understand biology. So I believe that AI will make biology precise and quantitative science in our lifetime, hopefully.
I think my takeaway from just learning about this, right, as somebody who's coming in and just really wanting to just bring this subject to light, the idea that the potential that for personalized medicine at scale is a possibility because of AI. Right now, precision medicine it's a rich person's game. Most people can't do that, and the idea that we might not be that far away from actually having to be able to know specifically what we need and to make that available and affordable for people is some of the most exciting stuff. Obviously, going about it with consciousness and ethics, it sounds like it's so much excitement can happen, and also we need to go about this slowly and not just build the thing because we can and find out after that we didn't put all the measures in place. So I just want to thank you guys. Please give a round of applause for our wonderful panelists.
Wait.
I want to open it up.
Yes,
we just have 5 more minutes.
Questions. Okay, you're second. Number 1, Tim.
So I'm also in the I'm longevity space, but also in the crypto space. So I mean, the answer, I'm also somewhat older. So the question is, we've been hearing about AI for a long time. So maybe I'm just trying to think how we can, all these topics which are controversial, how we can say this time it's different. Right, we've been promising the genomics revolution for 30 years. War on cancer is 50 years. AI's, DeepMind, all these things. How do we have the language that actually says, no, this time really, it's actually, we mean it this time. This is the good things are coming.
Gentlemen?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question, and I mean, I personally don't know. We'll find out. But what we are very clear on is the speed of which it's accelerating. It's truly exponential. We're seeing that. We often look at technologies across humanity. We look at the invention of the wheel, the fire, being able to write and communicate. There's 24. They've identified 24 particular innovations that have led us to where we are, that have made big fundamental differences, and they call them waves, right? And we all know how waves work. We're at a position now where I think both synthetic biology and AI are coming together, and as waves superpose, they come together, creating extra big waves. I think we are in a position very soon, in the next 3 to 5 years, everyone says 3 to 5 years, so I'll go with that. But though seriously, with AI coming into the fold, with large language models, something that I like to remind people is that computers speak in zeros and ones, and ChatGPT is a primary example of how now you can communicate very, very well with an AI, with a robot. We've had to transform the human language into zeros and ones using algorithms. If those language was English, French, Spanish, or even the genome or the sequence of DNA, the transformation to actually begin to use these algorithms is very similar. And so for these AI systems and algorithms to understand the genome sequence and provide knowledge from that is going to be very similar and very, overwhelming. Like, we've all been overwhelmed with ChatGPT for sure.
Well said. Anyone else? One more?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you very much. I think it was very, very interesting, the whole topic. But then again, we are living in this ecosystem and misinformation and disinformation. So my question really is, you were mentioning a lot the importance of being in a good state of mental health for people who are actually engaging in development software or technology that is going to help us produce better medicines. And we are aware of certain technologies like DNA sequencing that's already happened. So I don't know if you can tell your view on how fast you think this is going to happen, how it's important, and how can we engage more with you guys to learn more and to spread actually and make it happen faster, because in order to change your habits, you have to change your beliefs, right? So it's important that we share the information.
Absolutely. I believe that there is a collective momentum happening in a way you're describing of a desire to engage and to help speed things up and to help course correct, to make sure we're moving in the right direction with AI development. So I think just the nature of the question already shows we're on the right path, right? We're thinking about this, and that's amazing. In terms of the more practical application of how can we create a framework for Silicon Valley developers to have mental health benefits, I think that's a bit of a further bridge, and that's one that we're directly working on to show the value of this and speak to the pain points around the benefits for their productivity, their work. So it is still also a bit of a reach for some people to understand the importance of infusing this level of intentionality into the development process. I don't have any other sense of like timeline or any other larger scale of the program that we would want to roll out, but stay tuned and would love to chat after.
We have one last question.
Okay.
Hi. So I heard you guys start to kind of verge on this question of like, what's the point of living long if we're not happy, if we're not fulfilled, if our quality of life is not optimal, or at least high functioning. Have any of you guys considered the value of existential resolve, of confronting mortality and existential representation of self as actually like a value to longevity and processing grief and death actively as a contributor to well-being?
Yeah, I can take that one. So, for me, in philosophy of death, there's a term called deprivation account. So deprivation account says that death is not bad intrinsically, because while you're alive, death is not there, and when death is there, you're not there anymore. so you do not have any experiences. So death is bad because of the good of life that it deprives you of. It deprives you of the good of life. If you're dead, you cannot be happy for sure. You're just dead. So to me, this is as close as I can get to it. But it's a question for which everyone looks for his own answer.
I think obviously we're all going to die, and ultimately longevity is about expanding your health span, so the ability to be there with loved ones, your grandchildren for as long as you can, and see the fruits of life. And so, the fallacy of, oh, we want to live forever is not really what I believe. I think it's we want to live longer and happier for an extension of time. If we can get an extra 20% where we're still going to the gym and we're still, meeting friends for a cycle ride, whatever it might be, I think that's the important thing. We're not saying that we want to all be in care homes, living for another 10, 15 years. Of course we don't. We want to be active and enjoy life. I think that's the most important thing. From the longevity space, there's those misconceptions that we want to live forever. Brian Johnson maybe does want to live forever, but we're not all Brian Johnson. So that would be my answer.
Thank you guys so much again.
Thank you, panelists. Gratitude hugs.